Walmart employees, what's the worst thing you have seen inside your store? Somebody put bleach, ammonia and Drano in the fishy tanks. Another time somebody sprayed deer pee all over the toy section. I'm really glad I don't work there anymore. There's not a single animal on this planet that I have more pity for than Walmart fish. Always stashed away in the cold, dark, smelly corner of the store with nobody in it. Probably gonna be bought by some meth head for their poorly disciplined child and housed in a critter keeper with some gravel from their driveway in it, where it will die a week later because the kid stopped caring. Bless them. Had a customer in a motorized scooter, his personal one, not store provided, come up to me at the sporting goods desk and he asked me where the cans of compressed air are. I walk him over to some, and he thanks me, grabs a can off the shelf, and proceeded to start huffing it right in front of me. So I used to stock the crafts section on overnights. I'm kinda an awkward person, so no human contact was great for me. This old guy on a scooter insisted upon sitting in my aisle for like hours, just staring at the needles. Okay. Whatever. I stocked everything I could, but finally I needed him to move. And honestly I was a little creeped out at this point. I mentioned it to my manager on the way to lunch. After lunch he was gone. Turns out he had died there like 5 hours ago. I worked at Walmart for all of my teenage years, and there was so much poop where it shouldn't be. That's the most disgusting. The worst would have been when some thieves attempted to run out the door, followed closely by loss prevention, turned around and sprayed them with mace, which then wafted into the store. A few seniors had to be taken to the hospital for respiratory issues. Everyone working in the store spent all day coughing as the mace lingered in the air, because heaven forbid they shut the store down and think of anyone else's health. I worked at Walmart about 20 years ago, being the manager of the photo lab before digital took over. So my department was right next to the electronics department. I'm chatting with the manager of the electronics department, and all of a sudden we hear a woman yell, "Here it comes." We then see a middle-aged woman frantically scuttling down the aisle, holding her shorts near the back. She ran to the restroom, leaving a trail of liquid sheet behind her. It looked like when a dog is sick and you're trying to get them out the door before they make a mess all over your carpet and they keep stopping to sheet every few seconds. An employee went in with a pair of pants off the shelf to help out. She put them on and made a beeline toward the exit without paying for them, leaving her soiled shorts in the stall on the floor. Ex-employee saw some crazy lady probably on some kinda drugs take out a tampon and throw it at someone cause they didn't like her tone. Crazy Beach just plucked it out and tossed it like a bloody hand grenade. This thread is kind of like a Walmart itself. I want to go in and see what's up, but I'm a little bit scared of what I might find. It's kinda shitty to bring up because it's sad, and I'm not trying to make fun of the guy, but it's like 4 AM and this man dressed in a suit and fedora comes in. No face. I concluded some kind of cancer had ate away his face. All he had left was eyes and a massive cancerous hole. He just gurgled. We had to have him write down what he needed. It was sad, but god damn it, it scared the absolute shit out of me, and I never really forgot. Not an employee, but a very frequent Walmart shopper. All the Walmarts around me are pretty nice. Never seen anything nasty going on. But there was an incident once that still sticks with me to this day. When I was younger, my mom had to grab meds at Walmart in the middle of a storm. It wasn't a bad storm or anything, just very rainy with some thunder, but it was supposed to continue for several days, so of course the store was packed. So we were in line at the in-store pharmacy, and there was a man who was clearly mentally disabled, with a helper, in the front of the line. The man between us and them was this dude who in my young mind must have been a lawyer, did not fit the stereotypical Walmart look at all, wearing an expensive looking suit, perfectly gelled hair, literally carrying a briefcase. He looked annoyed that he was there at all. He intensely reminded me of Patrick Bateman, just an air of disinterest and arrogance, and was brushing his coat off every time anyone walked too close to him. Everything's fine, and the guy and his helper at the front of the line get their prescriptions and start to turn around. Just as they do, there's a huge thunderclap and suddenly, the power goes out in the store. It's not pitch black, but it's dark as hell. and immediately there's commotion in line. I look up just in time to witness disabled man punch lawyer dude square in the face. Lights flicker, come back on. Lawyer man is standing there holding his bloody nose looking like he's ready to murder someone. Disabled guy is freaking out. Helper is profusely apologizing and trying to help lawyer guy. Lawyer guy waves him off with a glare, walks to the front and calmly says his name plus info and throws down some money. Pharmacist hands him prescription, which he snatches wordlessly and turns away, brushing past me still holding his nose, leaving a trail of blood on the linoleum floor. I don't know why, but the entire thing felt so surreal I still remember it like it just happened. Wildest thing I've ever seen in Walmart. I've only been working at a Walmart for 2 weeks. I've had 3 people lose their temper on me. One woman slam her cart into someone else's cart because she couldn't buy alcohol with an expired ID. And one guy tried to walk away with a whole cart of groceries, in which a different customer walked after him and literally dragged him back inside. Again, 2 weeks. Edit, I'm getting asked this a lot, so I'll explain. Stores can't accept expired IDs because they are considered invalid. If invalid IDs were accepted, then it would create an aftermarket for those IDs, which would then make it easier for people under 21 to get a hold of something they could potentially use to illegally purchase alcohol. Watched a high schooler stoned out of his mind trip over his own feet and slam through a middle aisle display of those egg crate file holders. Those suckers went everywhere. Also an old woman tracking diarrhea through the store trying to find the bathroom cause she shit herself. Worst ever, some people signed up for an oil change, then threw one of those household bug bomb foggers into their car while they waited. When the technician went out to pull the car in, it was full of white smoke from the insecticide and the interior was covered in thousands of roaches all trying to escape the fog. We told them to leave. Worse this week, guy signs up for an oil change, and the technicians find 2 live cats under the hood of the minivan. The owner came out to deal with it, saying they were his. Oh brother. So many things. Let's break this up into customers and managers' actions. Customers, male made #2 where #1 should go. Female decided used feminine hygiene products make great wall art. Male jizzed on all walls of the restroom. Older lady carried a sword into store. Back office was broken into with a crowbar and employee who tried to stop him got struck in the head with said crowbar. Male assistant manger would constantly talk about going down on his wife during that time. Would ask employees if they've ever done various sexual acts. Would force male employees to climb down an unsecured ladder from the roof onto a thin metal overhang to change flag. Locked eye wash station room. Forced employees to unload pallet loaded truck in parking lot with an incline. This led to one employee breaking his arm. If I remember correctly, him waiting over an hour to go to the because the manager refused to call an ambulance or take him. Older female manager mixed bleach and ammonia to clean toilets. Locked male employee in cardboard baler. There are more stories and I can go into detail if anyone is interested. Other than the people freaking out and throwing sheet, and one junkie who continuously stole cans of compressed air for dusting computers to do whippets in the handicapped bathroom. How that didn't kill him, I still don't know. One story stands out. This elderly obese woman came in with her service dog, a little chihuahua or something, probably for anxiety. Gets one of the electric scooters, puts the dog with its leash into the basket. During the course of her shopping, the leash goes through the grate of the basket onto the floor and gets run over by the wheels of the scooter. The leash gets twisted up in the motor of the scooter. Eventually, the leash gets yanked tight and begins to strangle the dog. The dog uses what little air it has to panic, but quickly falls silent. The woman does nothing about this. Once she gets to the front of the store, she decides to check on the dog, strangled to death 6 inches in front of her. She flips sheet and screams at every employee she can find, telling them to do something, save her dog. I guess she didn't know it was dead. It was their fault. Blah blah. The dog had been dead for almost 20 minutes before she decided to check on it. Piss and sheet all over the inside of the cart that she didn't manage to notice or smell for 20 ducking minutes. I no longer work at Walmart. I unfortunately have no idea whether she sued or not, or what really came of it afterwards. Working 4 AM to 1 PM first shift stocking. This was a couple years back. Dude's shopping. Regular looking guy. I'm butting up cheese on the shelf. He greets me with a kind of passing by you type hello. Then he asks me, hey man, idjit in any posse? I answered vaguely, eh. He responds, well, some is better than none, am I right? I've posted this in another Walmart thread. It's still one of my favorite stories from my mom. My mom worked at Walmart for about a year. She actually liked it as she was more active, but she decided to quit after the jewelry department manager had a meltdown and started throwing jewelry at customers. One old lady got pelted in the head with a heavy ring box, and it was over. Turns out the manager was selling the jewelry to friends and family, but would keep the boxes and stuff them with rocks and trash, so inventory would stay the same. She had the meltdown before she was caught. They had to drag her out of the store that day. Once while I was restocking shelves, there was a kid pissing into her open cereal box. Mine actually happened yesterday. I was walking back to my area and saw one of my coworkers in front of a puddle. She said, walk around. I responded, I don't want to know. Her immediate response was, it is urine. I lowered and shook my head and walked by. Let's see. I've seen people tripping balls. I've seen a guy walking on 10-foot stilts. A guy with his dung out. A lady pull her pants down to adjust her panties. A guy pass out from huffing an aerosol can. A chick passed out on the ground. Low blood sugar. A car catch on fire. An employee die in his car in a parking lot. Old. And lots of fights. I'm sure there's more, but I can't remember. No, I personally didn't see some of these, but I'm friends with employees. There's nothing to do in this town, so when something happens, I hear the stories a few times. Editor, yes. A guy whipped out his deck and started peeing in front of my sister-in-law. Someone throwing their used children diaper on top of the freshly baked cookies I just put out had to throw out 700 cookies. I've been working at Walmart for 2.5 years and I've seen it all. The worst thing I've seen was a man who was checking out in the self-checkout. All was good until this smell whiffed by. I didn't think much of it and figured the guy had farted. He proceeded to shake his left leg until a large slimy turd came out his pants. He took his receipt and left. Needless to say, I did not pick that up and called maintenance over. I can only imagine the feeling of a warm turd sliding down my leg. My roommate worked at Walmart for years. The worst story she told me was when some lady confused the fitting rooms for a restroom and she took a big dump in one of the stalls. Right on the floor. At some point during the D-door. Just after she realized what she'd done and tried to clean it up. But all she could find was a paper towel roll. Just the roll. No paper towels. So she stuck the roll in her pile of sheet like a flagpole and went about her day. Worked there for a month as a summer gig during prime recession time. Luckily my department was a lot less crazy than some of the others or someone like a janitor. Plenty of weird stuff happened in my short time there, but only one thing really scarred me, and it isn't what you'd expect. One day employees and lower management in departments around mine kept getting pulled in for questioning, and I never did, so I was on alert. Finally I get called in and all the higher management were in there with concerned faces. Turns out a black employee accused me of racism and harassing him, saying that I called him the N-word multiple times. Not only did I never do this, but I'd never even had a full conversation with this guy before, because something seemed wrong with him, so I just avoided him if I could. This is a big deal for any company and I instantly started having a small panic attack because I've never been put into a situation like that, and my only defense was that all I could say was no, I never did that. Luckily one of the managers brought up checking security footage for conclusive evidence in case a lawsuit or something of that nature popped up. In the end they had security go through every minute of security footage of when I was working and saw that not once did I have a single interaction with the guy. The whole thing shook me up and it all just made me feel bad, so I never worked there again. //edit. I've had a handful of people message ask about general timeline questions. He reported me first thing in the morning, and by late noon it was settled thankfully. I had to stew in a windowless room of emotion the whole time thinking I may be labeled a racist. No, I did not work the rest of my shift. I was so emotionally distraught and sick to my stomach they gave me the rest of the day off. First thing next morning during opening I came in and told them it gave me bad anxiety and didn't think I could do it. They were very understanding and even paid me in cash for the full day's worth, which may not be policy, but it was nice. I worked as a photo lab specialist for 2 years and saw some really awful pics. The worst was a toddler surrounded by marijuana buds and guns. We had to get the on-duty cop involved when the guy came back to pick them up. Edit for more info on why the cop was involved. I believe the guy was in the pic with the kid and had gang signs with one hand and almost putting a gun to the kid's head. It's been a while, so it's a bit fuzzy.